back to the day before. And also, welcome back to day 2 of Vlogmas. So, today we're going to be going over Hunt a Killer, Moon Summit Mystery, Episode 3's investigation, now that we have the unboxing done. And it's been a while since we've visited the Moon Summit Mystery. So, let's just jump right in. So, in Episode 1, we determined that Toby was murdered, right? And in Episode 2, we found that Toby's killer took the Tall Pines Trail back to camp after murdering Toby. Now in Episode 3, we need to eliminate a suspect for the first time in this case. Now, the first item we need to look at is Amy's letter. Now, if you guys remember, if you've been following along, the Moon Summit Mystery is basically there was an Alaskan expedition sent by Whitlock University to Moon Summit National Park in Alaska. And during that expedition, student photographer Toby was murdered, right? So here is the letter that Amy had sent to us. And the letter basically tells us that the signal mirror and the beanie that we received in this box was out of place somehow, it seemed like. And it also said that we need to eliminate a suspect, like I had already mentioned. It also states that Amy had uploaded a video for us to look at on Deviant Tracker, which I have pulled up right here, all the clips. So maybe we can take a look at those a little bit later. And there's also a video of Toby before he was murdered. So maybe we'll take a look at that one. But our next thing that we're going to look at is Toby's notebook page. And here I just have some notes for myself, so get rid of that. And from this we learn that Conrad is hopeful about finding the ghost links, but he also keeps mentioning how this will be his last time in the field. So Toby's like, has he told Whitlock that he plans on retiring? You know, stuff like that. And he also talks about a magazine called International Terrain wanting to use some of his photos from the expedition, but that Emma isn't very happy about it. She's an environmental activist, and in a previous box we saw that she actually got fired from Whitlock University for some of her activism, but that she was put on this expedition team. So that was kind of interesting to learn about. The next thing we're going to look at is the documentary storyboard. And it's just kind of weird. When you look at it, there's some nature shots, sure, you know. And then it starts out, and this is at camp, right? So, that's Conrad. And then it shows Emma. And then it shows a picture of Rusty. And then Toby sitting alone. Then it says flash forward, jump cut of arguing, and the arguing is between Emma and Toby. And then a lab table is knocked over. Emma is still arguing with Toby. Then there's an unfocused shot, and then it shows Toby walks off the camera. So I just found that interesting. Why is like a documentary filmmaker that's supposed to be about the ghost links, finding the ghost links, it seems like it's more focused on the relationships between the people in this story between the people, right? So maybe is Lillian going to be orchestrating, you know, some drama between the members of the team? I don't know. So then we're going to move on to this email chain right here. And in the email chain, we learned the login information for Nigel Ricci, which we will go over some of that in a little bit. And then that's login info is for the Whitlock University website. So, we also learned that if this expedition isn't successful, that Nigel and Conrad is likely going to be fired from Whitlock University. And I was thinking maybe that's what Conrad was like talking about when he was like, this will be his last time in the field in Toby's notes. So I thought that may be something that ties together. Now, let's look at this beanie real quick. And in the unboxing, I think I found the little bit of evidence that comes along with this beanie, right? So the beanie was found inside the lab tent. And if you look inside on this tag, it says tea time 2492. So that will be useful a little bit later. Now this signal mirror, when you look at the map and you put it, you locate where this was found on the map according to these coordinates right here, J12, you find that this was found near the Tall Pines Trail, and that is the trail that Toby's killer took back to camp. This is used to signal for help if you're lost. There's a little mirror on it. And there's also a whistle on this. So this is good for if you get lost in the woods. And you know what? There's something else that this is good to be used for that we'll talk about a little bit later. Now on the safety protocols, there are the same markings from the hiking medallion we received in episode 2. And what I had noticed during my investigation is that if the markings are Morse code, that would mean the markings on the back of the medallion is a R, right? And so I used that, and after a long and arduous time, because there's only one break in this code, as you can see, so it was hard to figure it out. I finally did figure it out, and I deciphered the message to say, and now spoiler alert, fast forward about 30 seconds if you haven't figured this out yet, okay? But what this says is the top says ignore E, and this says I trust you. So I thought that was interesting, and I believe that these messages are being written by Rusty. As you can see also, it's safety protocols, and that's what that's what his job is, you know, to keep everyone safe in this Alaskan wilderness. So I have deduced so far that I believe that any of these messages that I'm finding that look like this have been written by Rusty. Now, the next thing we're going to look at is a postcard. And this was a little bit tricky to figure out, and it took a little bit of time. But first off, I want to show you that if the signal mirror is placed, let me get it out. And this is all spoilers from this point on. So if you haven't finished episode 3 of Moon Summit Mystery, I would just watch this video a little bit later. But as you can see, if you align the signal mirror with the lines on this postcard, hopefully you can see this, but the letter N is in the middle. So, from that hint, and from this hint, and from this hint, I figured out, well, for one, that what you need to do is just continue to write the alphabet in a clockwise circle going outward, okay? So A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, I, J, K, L, M, N, O, P. And then the N means when you are putting the alphabet along with these letters that you've put around this, it's A, B, C, D, E. And you also go in a clockwise motion. So when you're done here, you start here like F, G, H, I, J. And then this way, and then this way. And then you can figure out like the whole alphabet code that you're going to need, okay? So with that little hint from the signal mirror and with these other hints, like, so you have all that done, use this to figure out what your code's going to be. So with all of those clues from the postcard, you can decipher the whole alphabet, making it easy to decipher this message that is on the right side of the postcard. So if you haven't figured that message out yet, fast forward about 30 seconds, because I'm about to tell you what it is. It is an old method. That's what that says. So, this probably took the most time for me out of this whole box to figure out. The Morse code was difficult because of the lack of breaks in the code. However, this is actually what took me the longest time to figure out. But once I had it figured out, it was easy peasy and smooth sailing from there. So the next thing we're going to look at is the Wi-Fi log, and that is very interesting. So we've already talked about this email chain, but behind the email chain is a Wi-Fi log. And we find out 3 things from this Wi-Fi log. Well, for one, in episode 2, there is a login information and a password for something in Toby's notes. Well, in this we find out that that is his Wi-Fi login that's written in his notes. The second thing we find out is that it shows that Nigel was using his laptop in camp when Toby was murdered, as he was writing the weekly report that we were sent in episode 2. So that corroborates the information that we have right here. And that can be found right there. 2023 is 8/23 to 10/52. So if he was online between those times, there's no way he could have killed Toby. And we also have corroborating information from episode 2, like I had said, where it shows that he was writing a weekly report at that time as well. And the third thing that we find is that after Toby was murdered, somebody logged in with Toby's information, because this time is 10:47. So from 10:47 to 10:59, someone other than Toby was logged into the Wi-Fi using Toby's login information. So I found that very interesting. I wonder who that was. Alright folks, finally let's take a look at the online evidence. So, the online evidence shows us several things. For one, the videos show us that Toby was not handpicked, like the other team members who were all chosen by Conrad Wildingham. And then video evidence also shows us that Lillian was mean to Toby. And then we also see that Emma and Toby have conflict. Conrad and Nigel have conflict. And then Rusty and Emma get along very well. So let's go ahead, and this is a video taken of Toby. Let's take a look at the video that was filmed with him.
Yeah, he didn't really hand-select me like the others. I heard that Whitlock was funding the expedition, and I begged my advisor to get me on it. I mean, it seemed like a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. Yeah, I would say it lived up to his expectations. I mean, it's a gorgeous subject. I'm lucky to be able to photograph it. I couldn't get shots like this back in school.
So, as you can see from the video, it seemed like Toby was a pretty nice guy. Rest in peace, Toby. So, we were also able, from the hat and the email chain, to gain Nigel Ricci's login information to the Whitlock University portal. And so we were able to reach his files. And he had an article in his files that's an interview with Conrad. And he also has notes about coded messages that he found in the margins of an early draft of Conrad's dissertation. That's right here. And using the code that we figured out from the postcard, we were able to see the coded message, or decipher the coded message that's right here. And what it says is, spoiler alert, if you haven't figured this out yet, I would fast forward around 30 seconds. But this says, not enough proof. Is this wrong? The ghost links has to be real. So I found that interesting. And so from this episode, we have a lot of information that we need to digest. One thing is for sure. We can tell that Nigel Ricci did not kill Toby Mendia. We know this because Nigel was logged in and writing his report, his weekly report, at the time Toby was murdered. But either Lillian Walker, Conrad Wildingham, Rusty Tudlick, or Emma Clarkson did kill Toby Mendia. And we are going to find out who that was. Motives are starting to form, and none of those 4 expedition members that I just mentioned have a solid alibi for the time that Toby was murdered. So we are going to find out who killed Toby. So that concludes our investigation into episode 3. I have episode 4 through 6, the final episode, in my possession right now. And I have looked through stuff, and I have basically solved the case, but I have not had enough time, and I had technical difficulties, so I was not able to film. But I am going to still be doing the unboxings and the investigations for all of those episodes, and I will see you again tomorrow for Vlogmas Day 3. See you soon. Bye-bye.